Ship now ordering an aviation stand down after two deadly helicopter crashes. The order by the Army Chief of Staff grounds all Army aviators except those on critical missions until they do training. 12 soldiers have been killed in helicopter crashes since March. The most recent Thursday, which killed 3 soldiers and injured a 4th in Alaska. Both incidents involved training exercises. And joining me right now is Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton, a Democratic member of the House Armed Services, Transportation and Infrastructure Committees and the Select Committee on China. He also served 4 tours in Iraq as part of the U.S. Marine Corps. And I welcome you, my friend, which makes you also the perfect person to ask this question. How important in your mind is this aviation stand down? And how should the Army approach its risk management process moving forward?
Look, this is a big deal. And the Army Chief of Staff, General McConville, is an Apache helicopter pilot himself. So he understands what this means. You know, taking a sizable, even just taking a week off of training is not something that we're used to, but he's making the right call because this is way out of the norm. It's important to say, though, that training is inherently risky. We do risky training so that it's more realistic, and that ultimately makes the very dangerous missions that we ask our men and women in uniform to undertake a little bit more safe because they're better prepared for those dangerous missions. But clearly, we're not striking the balance right here in Army helicopter training, and that's why the Chief of Staff is ordering a stand down.
Okay, glad for that statement on that. Let's drill down on your Select Committee on China experience, because U.S. and Western officials telling NBC News that a breakdown in communication between the U.S. and China is raising the risk of an unintended crisis or conflict between the two superpowers. So on a scale, sir, of 1 to 10, 1 is good, 10 is bad, rate the relationship right now between the U.S. and China, and why are we at this point?
Well, I think we're about a 7. So we're on the bad side of that scale because we're not even talking right now. And let's be clear, this is not our fault. The United States has repeatedly reached out to Chinese officials over dangerous incidents like the balloon incident and asked to have a dialogue, asked to have an emergency phone line, that red phone that we have with Russia, so that in the event of some uncertainty, a missile launch that we're not quite sure what's going on, we can pick up that phone and talk to Russia before we launch nuclear missiles or something catastrophic. So it's important to have communication. We're asking for communication. It's important that we have peace in the Pacific. We haven't changed our position on that. We want peace in the Pacific. Taiwan wants peace in the Pacific. But Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party have said they want to start a war over Taiwan. They want to invade Taiwan the same way that Vladimir Putin, that war criminal, has started this criminal war over Ukraine and Europe.
Which brings me to this, because China's Xi Jinping told Ukrainian President Zelensky that he wants to send a peace envoy to Ukraine and other nations to try to act as some sort of a mediator. But since that offer, Russia has stepped up a deadly wave of airstrikes on cities across Ukraine. Do these latest Russian attacks, does it damage the prospect of any talks happening?
Yes, of course it does. And let's be clear, Xi Jinping, the leader, the autocratic leader of China, is aligning himself with this war criminal, Vladimir Putin. That's the alliance that they have. And there's one very simple way for this horrible, horrible war in Ukraine to end. And that's for Russia to go home. They're the ones who invaded. They're the ones who started this completely illegal, unprovoked war. So if China really wants this war to end, they just need to tell Vladimir Putin, pull back your troops. That's how simple it could be. I don't think China's very serious about this peace mission.
Let's focus stateside here, because House Republicans narrowly passed a debt limit bill, which includes spending cuts, undoing much of President Biden's domestic agenda. The Democratic-controlled Senate has made it pretty clear it's not going to pass it. But will this lead to the president and Democrats negotiating with Republicans to some degree?
Well, look, first of all, this is a completely ridiculous bill. It cuts Head Start programs for 300,000 kids, including tens of thousands of kids in some of the most conservative House districts in the country. It cuts nutrition benefits for 1 million seniors. You'll see TSA wait times at the airports go up 300%. So if you're used to a 20-minute security line, plan on waiting an hour just to get through security. So Republicans are never actually going to do this. This is a ransom not an actual bill. And you're right, it's never going to see the light of day in the Senate. Now, the question is, should there actually be a real negotiation between people like Kevin McCarthy, Republican Speaker of the House, and President Biden? President Biden has made it very clear we don't negotiate over the full faith and credit of the United States. I mean, to understand what this is like getting your credit card bill after you've spent all your money on your credit card and just refusing to pay it. Right? You don't get your credit card bill and just refuse to pay it and then call the credit card company and say, hey, let's negotiate this. That's not the way it works. The credit card company's not going to renew your credit card. Okay, so this is really serious stuff. And President Biden's doing the right thing by saying we're not going to negotiate over this. When Democrats controlled the House, we raised the debt limit 4 times for President Trump. We did the right thing for the country. That's all we're asking of House Republicans.
Got it. I know you've thrown your support behind President Biden's reelection bid, but just as he made it official this week, take a listen to what Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley had to say about his candidacy.
He's announced his that he's running again in 2024. And I think that we can all be very clear and say with a matter of fact that if you vote for Joe Biden, you really are counting on a President Harris, because the idea that he would make it until 86 years old is not something that I think is likely.
Just got to ask your response to that one.
I mean, come on, Nikki Haley, you're better than that. I mean, this is pretty pathetic. She's really trying for something. Nikki Haley may have one of the only presidential campaigns in modern history that's going worse than mine. So she's really struggling here. And I don't know. Come on. Be nice to the president.
All right. Congressman Seth Moulton. Okay, you had a campaign. You never know. I mean, I'm just saying. Anyway, thank you very much, my friend. Good to see you. Coming up next, we're going to talk about what